What if there was a way to have boundless energy in a way that didn't burn you out? So you could reach all of your goals, but still have some energy left over to have some fun. I was posed this question recently when one of my clients asked me how I was able to get so much done and not go insane. And the truth is that I did go insane. We call it burnout, but it goes by many different names. And sometimes, if it goes deep enough, it can lead into depression, it can lead into anxiety, it can lead into quitting. And when you have a lot to achieve, or at the very least, a lot to maintain, this can be a really important conversation to have where we're looking at not just energy to do stuff and to focus, but sustainable energy. What can you maintain forever? And I've got my buddy here, Stevens, he's going to present some questions throughout, but I wanted to open this conversation with the type of energy that you might be using unintentionally and how it could be causing issues. So this discussion that I had with one of my clients was rooted in how do I sustain management of type 1 diabetes. So I have type 1 diabetes. I'm also a certified master fitness trainer and nutritionist. So I coach people living with type 1 diabetes on health topics. And this discussion came up because type 1 diabetes is exhausting. It takes a lot out of you. And I live with type 1 diabetes as well. And in this realm of continued pursuit of control, we have to respect the reality that there is no finish line with something like type 1 diabetes. And in many areas of life, marriage, career sort of, but kids, there are many things that have no finish line. It's a matter of how do I keep going in that realm? How do I develop sustainable energy? How do I keep my eyes on the prize if there is no prize? And what I mean by that is there's a great discussion to be had, maybe in a separate video, about finite and infinite games, right? And I have a book on my shelf about that, so maybe we'll touch on that in a future episode. But the idea being that there are some things in life that you can win. You can win a race. You can win best employee of the year, right? But there are some things in life that you can't win, but we have to redefine what winning is. So winning in those cases might be continuing to go through it. So marriage, you don't win marriage. The goal of marriage is to stay married. With type 1 diabetes, you don't win. You can't cure yourself. There is no cure. What you can do is stay alive and continue controlling your blood sugars. So my clients were asking about this infinite game of controlling diabetes and asking about where do you get the energy? Where do you get the motivation? And how do you keep going with it? And we had this great discussion about how there's two different types of energy or motivation. There is pull and there is push, right? So one is you're pushing through, gritting your teeth, you're disciplined, you're getting it done. It must be done because I must survive. Typically, this is rooted in uncertainty, in pain avoidance, right? And in trying to get away from something bad. So with type 1 diabetes, we talk about avoiding complications. With diabetes is one of those motivators, or not dying, right? Now, on the other side of that is the pull motivation, something that pulls you forward towards your goals. It's you moving towards a positive or a pleasure, right? And said differently, this is like the donkey driving a cart. So you can either be motivated as a donkey by the stick that's going to smack you if you don't keep moving. So you're moving away from pain, which means you're pulling the cart, but you're moving away from pain. Or you're moving towards the carrot hanging on a stick in front of you. So you're moving towards pleasure. In both examples, you move forward. You're making the same progress, but you're driven by different things, towards pleasure or away from pain. But it's the same direction, right? But with energy, this brings up a very different conversation, because within the realm of energy, we have light energy and we have dark energy. So dark energy is that away from pain energy. It is out of survival. It is out of desperation. And I've had this too. I've had a few near-death experiences with type 1 diabetes and just sketchy situations. And those drove me into places in life where I needed to survive. I needed to figure things out, and I got energy from that. I was able to sustain large effort for incredible amounts of time, years, without stopping, stalling, or slowing down. And it's because I was driven by a survivalist instinct, right? So that's dark energy. And this can be akin to if you drink a Red Bull, and you have tons of energy in a short window of time, temporary, right? You can get through just about anything. You can go a sleepless night. I mean, we've all had those study sessions you cram in college where you have 3 Red Bulls and 2 caffeine pills and whatever else you can imagine to keep you awake to study enough. But then the next day, you crash hard, right? You have to make up for that. And this is where people get into the idea of burnout, depression, and frustration because they've pushed for too long. It's not sustainable and their body crashes. It's a nervous system crash. Now, the other side of this, the positive energy, the positive pull, or the light energy, to create this distinction. The light energy, it's what gives you the opportunity to make slow but consistent growth over long periods of time, unreasonably long periods of time. This is the energy that is required for those infinite games, like type 1 diabetes management, like marriage, like living. How do you live a full life? You have to get some sleep. And sleep is the example that we give for light energy, where if dark energy is a Red Bull, gives you a short burst of energy, but then you crash. Sleep is like light energy, where it takes 8 hours of your night, to get through it, right, and to recover. But the benefits are long lasting. You get through an entire day. You might not even notice that you feel the energy, but you're able to get everything done, right? So in that realm, I want to create the distinction between the two different types of energy. At first, doesn't matter which one you call upon. Just matters that you use one of them to get the job done. But if you want to continue getting the job done, it's required that you tap into that light energy, the sleep cycles, the positive reinforcement feedback loops, and not just focusing on avoiding negativity. So I wanted to introduce that as a topic because I think it's critical for us to respect the differences and to know, or at the very least acknowledge, which of them we are currently pulling from.
Why is dark energy so effective in the short term but unsustainable over time?
I think that dark energy is more sustainable initially, or readily accessible, I think is a better term, because we are driven by fear. Most things in life that we do because we're scared of the opposite, right? And fear drives many subconscious decisions in our everyday lives as well. Why do you wear your seatbelt? Like, I don't want to go through the windshield when I crash, right? Why do you think about the texts that you send? You're scared of social isolation. You don't want people to remove you from the friend group. Fear drives a lot of decisions. And so when we have fear driving our energy, we can pull from our reserves, but it is in a way that's unsustainable. So with light energy and this idea that we create sustainability with the source that we're pulling from the future, right? We're pulling from something that gives us more energy because we want to reach that goal. So it's a tricky scenario because with dark energy being more readily available, it's more often pulled on because we want immediate gratification. And I think that's the deeper discussion here, is that with dark energy, it gives you that instant feedback loop of I tried something and I saw progress. Whereas light energy, you have to know what you want. You have to have a plan. There has to be a system in place. So we don't typically default to light energy because we don't get that instant gratification.
What are the warning signs that someone is running primarily on dark energy?
The warning signs that someone's running primarily on dark energy, I think that you can feel it in your soul. You know that this isn't sustainable. So that it's hard to explain in that sense. But if you've got this feeling like you're running out of time, if you've got a feeling like you're running out of energy, if you are feeling trapped in any sense. And for me, it was more of a sense of ignoring my biological needs. It was ignoring mental health. It was realizing that I was no longer willing to do the things that I know I was supposed to do, like exercise, get a good sleep, for me, take my medication on time. It was these things, these subtle warnings that I was no longer taking care of myself. I was ignoring them to achieve the goal. Whereas, and we've touched on this in previous videos here as well, if you don't have your physical health, you won't have the energy to take care of your goals, right? But if you don't take care of your mental health, you won't have the willingness to take care of your physical health, which will give you the capabilities to take care of your goals. So when I started ignoring my physical health and my mental health, that's when I knew I was focusing on dark energy and I had to make a shift. The challenge is that it oftentimes has taken someone else outside of me to tell me that things have changed, that I'm focusing on the quick wins only, that I'm not creating a game plan that lasts more than a day or two and seeking that instant gratification. So I think that if there was one sign that I have noticed, it's a focus on instant gratification. What can I do today to get results back from today? Instead of focusing on what can I do today and for the next 100 days that will yield the eventual end goal.
Can dark energy ever be useful, or is it something we should eliminate entirely?
I think that dark energy is incredibly useful for building momentum. So if you think about pushing a giant rock, that boulder, right? It's bigger than you across the road. It's going to take an immense amount of energy to get that moving. But once it starts moving, you can push it with your finger. Just kind of poke it and prod it. It'll continue moving as long as it has little inputs along the way. So the light energy is more about the sustainable, constant inputs. It's a little pokes, poke, 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 get it across the road. It's going to keep moving because an object in motion tends to stay in motion. A person in motion towards their goals tends to stay in motion and is most often completed with this light energy. But to get things moving, to push the rock from nothing to something, often requires some level of grit, of discipline, of obsession, truthfully, where you have to be willing to put everything on the table and just eat it. Just suck at whatever it is that you're doing and continue pushing forward, even if it's out of anger or depression or jealousy, whatever it is. It's not sustainable, but it can be powerful. Similarly, if I get a really good night of sleep, I don't necessarily feel like I have boundless energy. But if I drink a Red Bull, I don't anymore, but when I used to in college, holy cow, I was bouncing off the walls. It was insane. The amount of energy you get from dark energy is incredible, but it's not sustainable. So I think that they each serve a purpose. Can you start from nothing and build into something with just light energy? Yes, but you're going to have such a long feedback loop that's going to feel like you're not making progress, and a lot of people give up before they even get there. So if that's the case, you have to have a very strong tie to your outcome, a very strong North Star, so to speak, where you know this is the goal and I will get there, but we're taking baby steps. So that's how you would differentiate. For those who have the patience to stick with it, yes, light energy is superior, but most people need dark energy initially. But the key is to be able to transition from dark energy to light energy the second that you have momentum.
How does sleep impact nervous system regulation specifically?
We see that. I love that we're talking about the sleep aspect to this, because sleep truthfully is one of the greatest ways to get energy and to fix your nervous system, to regulate it, and is oftentimes the most overlooked, for myself included. I mean, I've been working on this for ages. I know I need more sleep. And yet last night I was up playing video games at 10 o'clock at night when I absolutely should have been going to bed. And when we sleep, I mean, so many things happen that are absolutely incredible. Our brain detoxifies. There's toxins that build up in your head, in your brain, and your brain cleanses itself. This is the only time that your brain cleans itself. So if you're not sleeping, you're building up crap in your brain. And over time, it affects cognition, it affects memory, it affects deterioration. So we have to sleep to clean our brains. But in addition to that, we've got muscle recovery, we've got nervous system regulation. When we don't sleep, we build up cortisol. As a type 1 diabetic, I know that my insulin resistance goes up and my insulin needs go up by about 30%. So when you don't sleep, you are putting a heavy tax on your body. And what's fascinating about this is that it's the lack of sleep that increases cortisol production. So cortisol in circulation makes you more insulin resistant, which makes, for those of you who are not diabetic, your pancreas has to work harder because you're more insulin resistant, push out more insulin. And over time, chronic sleep deprivation, in addition to other lifestyle factors, can lead into prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. So you're putting yourself at risk for other health factors your heart health goes down, your brain health goes down. Everything is negatively impacted, this crazy ripple effect, when you don't sleep. But on the other side of that, when you do sleep and take care of yourself, everything else is this domino effect where you push down the one big domino of sleep, boom, and then everything else just gets better and better. Your memory improves, your overall energy improves, your immune system improves, your muscle recovery, cognition, everything improves. And one of the bases of everything is your nervous system. So if your nervous system is always ramped up, great way of knowing this is if you have a hard time going to sleep and your thoughts are racing. This happened to me last night too, which could be indicative of a busy day, yes. But if your nervous system is ramped up, so is your cortisol. You never get out of that fight or flight mode, and you never get to truly recover or rest. And one really interesting topic, maybe we'll spend some time in a different video on this, is this idea that the body keeps a score, that when you're stressed out, even low level but chronic stress, and it doesn't go away, it sits in your body. See, both my parents they're retired now, physical therapists. And my dad specifically treated a lot of athletic injuries, but also neck and back pain. And he would notice that a lot of his patients that came in with neck aches and backs and traps, and they were just so sore, it wasn't because they hurt that part of their body. It's because they were so stressed out for the last 30 years that the stress tighten their muscles. You just hold yourself and you never get to relax. And over time, it builds into an injury. Lack of sleep, increase of stress can actually physically harm you. It's fascinating.
How does living in constant fight or flight state affect long-term energy levels?
Similarly, with this idea of fight or flight keeping you in a state where you can get injured, the energy levels themselves, you are exerting energy when you're stressed out, right? You're also depleting energy. You are increasing cortisol, right? And you're taxing your body because, as I mentioned, even something as simple as your pancreas, which isn't technically simple, it's quite complicated, but that is taxed. It has to produce extra insulin because you are more insulin resistant throughout the day when you don't sleep, when you don't take care of your nervous system, when you're stressed. Stress itself, and this is obviously through the lens of blood sugars, but stress, both acute and chronic stress, can impact blood sugars significantly to the point where I, as a type 1 diabetic, need to take insulin just if I'm stressed. If I've had a stressful conversation or a stressful day, I have to go take insulin just because I'm stressed. I didn't even get to eat any food, right? So for you or anybody watching this that doesn't have diabetes, know that when you're stressed, your entire system feels it. And over that time, it's like, your heart rate's elevated too. It's like you're running a race that you're not even getting to win or experience because your body is just stuck in that ramped up mode that it's getting exhausted. It's like if you had to run everywhere instead of walk everywhere, you'd start to feel that over time, right? But the challenge is that we get used to it. When we live in a stressed out state, we forget what it's like to be relaxed. We adapt, which is one of the superpowers of the human body. But in that adaptation, we lose the ability to ground ourselves, and we can get lost in it very easily.
If there was something you want the listeners to walk away from with this conversation, what is it?
If there was one thing to walk away from, I would say focusing on sleep for your biological needs and focusing on your North Star or your high performance needs. So looking at what is the biggest domino that I can knock over? Pareto's law, the 80-20 principle. What's the one or two things that will give me the biggest yield for my inputs? Sleep is definitely one of them. Now, of course, exercise, eating healthy, drinking water, sunlight, grounding. These are all things that are important for your nervous system, but also physical well-being. But sleep, to take care of it, not just the 7 to 9 hours, which I'll be the first to admit, I used to try and squeeze by with 6 hours. And I realized that if I could get at least 6, I could totally function throughout the day. If I got less than 4, I was a zombie, could not function. So I would aim for between 4 and 6. Terrible idea. Now I know that if I get 8 plus, I feel superhuman. So I want you to find that sweet spot for you. For most people, it's between 7 and 9. But in addition to the hours, it's also the sleep quality. So getting to bed without your cell phone in your face, getting to bed without a full stomach, getting to bed without the stress of the day still processing in your head. So having a nighttime routine where you settle down, have some light conversations, read a book, stare at the wall. I don't care, but like not stimulate yourself in with the TV, with phone, laptop, work, video games, right? I'm also giving myself as an example. I'm not perfect, but a sleep hygiene, a sleep routine to get you ready for bed, to lower your resting heart rate so you can get to bed out of that fight or flight zone will enable you to fall into a much deeper sleep for better recovery and better sustainable energy. Now, the second piece is this North Star, this idea of one guiding light in your life. You can only have one at a time, right? Because there's only one North Star. But when you pick your North Star and determine what your absolute desire is, you know how to filter everything else in your life. Does this decision that I'm making get me closer or further away from that North Star? A few years ago, my North Star was to become an Ironman. And I did because it was my sole focus, right? And I believe that's the only way I was able to do that. Other areas of my life suffered as a result, but that was the sacrifice that I was willing to make to reach that goal one time and then settle back down and focus elsewhere. And this is how I've been able to maintain this unreasonable progress in many areas of life, building a 7-figure business, mastering my type 1 diabetes, becoming a best-selling author, becoming an Ironman, because I pick one thing and I give all of my effort to that and I accomplish it. So take care of your nervous system, sleep better, and determine your North Star. Know where you're going with the energy that you will achieve through taking care of yourself and leaning on that light energy so that you have a direct path to achieve the best version of yourself.
What's the biggest mindset shift people need to make around energy and performance?
Biggest mindset shift with energy and performance is that slow progress is still progress. And if it's sustainable, that's all that matters. If you could drag out your time horizons of what you expect to reach your goals, you can accomplish anything. I mean, think about it like this. If you told me, Matt, I want to be a millionaire, right? Okay, well, if you're going to want to be a millionaire this month, that's tricky for most people. If you want to be a millionaire this year, it's still pretty tricky, right? A millionaire this decade, that's more reasonable, right? That's not that difficult. You have to put away what, like 80-ish thousand a year? I mean, still difficult. Okay, well, what if we drag that out by 50 years? Well, now it's just chump change, right? We can get to $1 million over 50 years. If we look at health goals, relationship goals, career goals, whatever it is, if you drag out that time horizon long enough, you can achieve anything if it remains your North Star, if you stay focused, right, and put your energy towards that. But that's the catch, is that if you're using light energy, which is sustainable, you have to be able to consistently perform leveraged activities for a long enough time so that your goals become inevitable. So the superpower you have here is looking out 10, 20, 30, 50 years into the future and thinking about what's important to that version of you. When I'm 80, what's actually important? And that filter has been very helpful for me, because what I think I want now, I know 80-year-old me is not going to give a crap about. I'm like, oh, good job. You made money. What else did you do? Right? Did you have fun with the people you love? Ooh, I missed on that because I spent all my time trying to make money. Okay, let's not make that the main focus, right? So using that as a filter, what is future me going to still think is important? And then determining a North Star based off of that. And then from that, reverse engineering, what is the minimum viable plan, or your MVP, that I can do one step at a time, day by day by day by day, forever, so that I inevitably reach my goals.
What's your biggest hack towards light energy?
The biggest hack I've found in life, and this is admittedly somewhat of a recent discovery, is making it about something bigger than me. Oh man, I got cough. I'll start that one over. The biggest hack that I've found, and admittedly this is more of a recent discovery, but it's about making it about something bigger than me, or finding something bigger than me. So either something to impact more people, so mission driven, whether that's about me helping as many type 1 diabetics as possible, because even in the US alone, there's millions, right? Or finding a source of energy like gratitude. So gratitude has been a game changer for me. Myself, I'm a Christian, and digging back into my faith has actually been just a huge source of energy. On a more transparent level, I spent about a week ago, I spent half a day just emotional in my office, listening to worship songs and remembering how small I actually am. Like, I think, oh, I've accomplished so much. Like, no, I haven't, first of all. But B is, who cares? There's a God out there that loves me and loves my family and takes care of us. And to me, having that connection to something bigger than me is the greatest source of energy I've been able to find. So even if you aren't a Christian, or if you don't believe in God, you're an atheist, whatever, still love you, still happy to have you here. But I encourage you to lean into gratitude specifically. Looking at what is going well, how awesome is life. I can walk outside and just breathe fresh air and see grass and birds and bugs and whatever else. Find joy in the simple things, and you'll find that your energy naturally bubbles up to the surface. It's this amazing thing where when I choose to be present in the moment and pretend that I'm a tourist in my own city, I look around and just choose to be filled with wonder. I can keep going for days on that energy. So gratitude, wonder, finding joy in the present, and getting out of your own head, finding something bigger like God or a mission-driven attitude, you can accomplish anything.